Hello everybody and welcome back to another mod showcase. Today we've got another overhaul mod, but not a big overhaul. This is a very small overhaul, mainly focusing on mercenaries. Now mercenaries in the base game are pretty weak sauce, and so this mod is here to basically change them around and really diversify the mercenaries you can get. So without further ado, let's get into a couple of formalities. Please do leave me a like. Likes mean the world to me, more so than subs at the moment. Likes help spread the video around more so than subs. Subs help me personally, however, likes help the videos do better tremendously. So if you haven't left a like, please do leave a like. If you want to sub, by all means, feel free to sub. It is free, does not cost anything. And as ever, if you are interested in any of the mods I covered, they will be in the description found below, as well as my Discord. You can join my Discord. You can meet the boys. There's loads of us over there in the Discord, and if you have any mod suggestions, you by all means can come on in and leave something down there in the Discord. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video and show you off the Irregulars mod. It's a pretty naughty mod, so let's get in there. Okay, so here we are. We've loaded in to the world. So this mod changes around mercenaries. So normally mercenaries, they're kind of you come to a city, you go in here, you visit the tavern, and normally here it will say recruit 3 mercenaries, or maybe recruit hide blades, or mercenary swordsman, or mercenary cav. Like the mercenaries it offers in the base game in vanilla is very minuscule. There's not really much there. However, as you can see, there's 3 foreign hunters here. Now, I'm not going to recruit them, as I will show you around each troop tree, like I always do with overhauls. But the good thing about this mod is, instead of just giving you generic mercenaries all over the place, depending on where you are, depends on what mercenaries you get. So, for example, there are now Aserai Mercs, there's Khuzait Mercs, there's Sturgian Mercs, Battanians, Vlandians, and Imperial. Now the Imperial mercenaries are the foreign units. They don't really like mercenaries themselves, I guess, and so would much prefer to just hire random foreigners to do their dirty work instead of doing it themselves. So they all have their own mercenary troop trees, which is so much better than the baseline troop trees. Just quick heads up, I am using a lot of mods here, and this mod still works with all those mods. If you want a mod showcase, not a mod showcase, if you want a list of all the mods I'm using, by all means I can list that below as well in the comments if that's something you want to see. However, basically there's a lot of mods. Most of the mods I've covered in the past I'm currently running now. If you've watched any of my streams in the past, all the mods in that I'm currently running as well. As you can see, I've got Cavalry Expanded, I've got Valkyrie's mod, that's just 2 of them straight off the bat. I've got the Troops and Items Overhaul mod going. Like, I've got a lot of mods going, and the Mercenary Overhaul still works. So if you want a lot of mods to go together quite nicely, I can leave you a list of what mods I'm using, and it will give you a nice different experience with lots of new things added to the game, instead of, worrying about if it's going to work or not. These all work. Heads up though, I am using 1.5.8, not 1.5.9. 1.5.9, as good as it may be and as useful as it may be, mods haven't updated to 1.5.9 just yet, and so out of premise, it's probably safer for you to download or revert back to 1.5.8 and re-download all your mods there until I'd say until another good couple of weeks, until the mods can get updated. All the important mods need to get updated. As of right now, not all of them have. Some of them have, some of them haven't. So you will come across crashes if you haven't. If they haven't all been updated. So just heads up there. But without further ado, let's have a look at the new mercenary units. Let's start off with the Imperials. We'll start off with the foreign units. Okay, so here we are with the foreign mercenaries for the Imperials. Now, the foreign mercenaries are kind of a mismatch of Imperial cavalry mixed with Khuzait archers and cavalry mixed with Sturgian footmen. Kind of a weird mix, but still a welcome mix nonetheless. So from that city we just were at Poros, we could have got 3 foreign hunters. So we'll go down this line to begin with. You start off with a foreign mercenary, which is actually equipped with a longbow, which isn't too bad. A couple of normal arrows and a spiked mace. Going down into a foreign hunter with a nice heavy bow, some more step arrows, and then here we can split off into a foreign archer, which then turns into a foreign marksman. He's got 2 lots of bodkin arrows, which is pretty nice, and a step wall bow. So he's going to be doing a lot of damage, 66 pierce damage, with a total of 48 arrows. So he's going to be able to shoot down range quite a lot there. He's also got a long saber, which isn't too bad either. However, foot archers aren't your, or just normal archers, I guess, aren't your forte. You can go down into the foreign rider and then into the foreign marauder, which is going to give you a nice horse archer unit. Again, it's got step warbow with 2 lots of bodkin arrows, so again 48 arrows and a long saber. So very much the exact same loadout, but this time round he has a horse. Is it the exact same helmet? Let's have a look. Yep, I think it's pretty much the exact same armor. Yep, so it's the exact same. Yeah, the exact same unit. However, this time round he has a horse. So there's no real penalty here, depending on what you picked. It really comes down to what you want. Do you want horse archers or do you just want normal archers? There is no penalty. One's not better than the other. It literally is down to you. However, if archers are not your little necessity in life, you can go down into the foreign mercenary soldier, this is where you're going to get more and more Sturgian troops. He's accompanied with a northern axe and a short spear, which has thrust damage, but he's got a northern axe, so he's not too bad. He's going to be able to stun cav and then switch to his northern axe and do a little bit of axey madness. Going down into the cavalry option, however, we'll quickly get rid of the Imperial-esque units out of the way. So we've got a foreign cavalryman, into the foreign cataphracts, and then finally into the foreign elite cataphracts. So kind of looking a little bit like, again, kind of looking a little bit like the Eastern, the Khuzait boys, I guess, with the helmet, but I'd still say he's more of an Imperial-esque unit. He looks quite Imperial to me, more so than the foreign marksmen or what we're going to go down here, especially these 2 units. Bear in mind they're not even called foreign, they literally are called Nord. So there we go. He's accompanied with an Imperial lance, an Eastern cavalry shield, and a fine steel long cascara. So he's kind of a crossbreed between Khuzait and Imperial, so he's kind of in the middle. Again, got pretty nice armor to fit the role as well. So this is going to be a nice mercenary shock cav unit for the Imperials. Going from mercenary soldier, however, we've got the foreign guard, which is going to have a nice 2-handed weapon with a 1-handed war sword, or long war sword, with a heavy round shield. So he's going to be quite a nice frontline infantry. Going down into the foreign palace guard, we again have a drilled 2-handed axe with another fulled long war sword with a heavy round shield. So very nice looking armor as well, very cool looking. So a really staunchy warrior to hold your front line more so than anything. However, if that is not your choice, if that's not what you want, you can go down the other option, which is going to be a little bit of skirmish infantry. We'll ignore the rest of this as we will come back to this in a minute. However, we've got the Nord Chosen Warrior, which is going to have a very similar setup to what the previous boy had, but he's also going to have some javelins going down into the Nord Huskal, which again is going to have a 2-handed axe, 1-handed sword, and some javelins as well, with better armor by the looks of it. So a nice little frontline skirmish slash just heavy infantry for the Imperial mercenaries. So that is the Imperial troops out of the way. Let's move on over. We'll do the Nords next. We'll do the Sturgian mercenaries next, as we've already kind of stepped onto their territory already. So let's cover them without further ado. Okay, so here we are at the Nord mercenaries. So starting off, we have the Nord mercenary with a bow, very similar to the Imperial troops. Again, we can go down the right hand side over here. I'm going to go down the left first, but we'll switch up today. You can go from a Nord mercenary into a Nord huntsman, which then will be accompanied with 2 lots of barbed arrows. So straight off the bat, quite a nice archer unit. Going down into a seasoned huntsman, keeping with the archer theme, into a veteran huntsman. He's then going to have a western longbow, a nice 2-handed axe, and 2 lots of bodkin arrows. So again, 48 arrows, very similar to the Imperial foreign archer, but here he's got a 2-handed instead of a single 1-handed. Keeping down this same route, we'll go into the Nord Hednar. Here he will have a two-handed axe as well as 3 lots of Northern thrown axes, so he's going to have 12 thrown axes in total. Into the Nord Berserker, which is going to have again 12 thrown axes, better armor, potentially better weapon, two-handed weapon, but he's going to have 12 thrown axes. So this is going to be your little two-handed skirmish infantry. Not going to have much in the form of protection, but we're going to dish out a lot of damage before the enemy actually reaches them, and then once the enemy reaches them, they're going to swap to that bad boy, which is going to do 138 swing damage, which is quite nice. Going down the other tree, we've got some Nord Raiders, which also have some fish harpoons, which is pretty good harpoons, to be fair, not too bad. Sturgian Lance, again, you're going to see a lot of similarities between troops here. We're going to have very similar trees, so again, you're going to have the baseline one-handed with a lance. However, you can then go into a cavalry option with the Nord mounted brigand and then the Nord horse raider. So the difference here is instead of just being lance cav, which these are technically lance cav, they will also be skirmish cav as well, which isn't too bad, accompanied with 10 broad blade javelins. So not too bad. Again, not as good as the Imperials in the term of lance. Their lance isn't as long. They don't have a one-handed weapon to accompany it. However, like I say, they do have 5 javelins, so they're kind of a medium between skirmish and lance cav. They're going to be serving both roles, but not as good as each role would normally serve, but they're going to do like an okay job at both. So not too bad. However, if cavalry is not your choice and you want to go back down to the infantry line, we've got the Nord Shield Brother, which are very similar to the Nord Raider, just better armor and probably better weapons. Going into the Nord Veteran Shield Brother, where we can see he's got a long war sword accompanied with a Sturgian Lance, and he's got some broad blade javelins. Again, very similar to the 2 previous roles, but with better armor. However, here we go. We've already seen these units. As if we click on these, oh, it didn't swap out. When I tested it before, it did swap out. To the old tree. So we're seeing these anyway. These are what the foreign units can upgrade up into, with the Chosen Warrior and the Nortoskal. Again, we've seen these. This is literally what the foreign units can upgrade to if they go down the same line. So nothing too crazy. Nice units. Again, these are just units which really will spice things up. You know, they'll accompany your troops without taking too much away from your faction. For example, if you're playing as the Sturgians, you can have a full army of Sturgians, and normally you'd be like, oh well, that's it. You know, sometimes some people like to play where if they're one faction, they play as just that faction, right? They don't like recruiting other troops into their armies. They just like one single lot of boys. And so what this mod does is kind of adds more lore-friendly units, which kind of are part of your faction and, you know, could be recruited for the right price. They're not, you know, soldiers per se. They are mercenaries, and so, you know, you have to pay them off. However, they still have a nice fitting in your army despite who you play as. As you'll see, every faction have their own mercenaries, and every faction, all their mercenaries fit in quite well. So that is an Nordsdom. Let's head on to the next faction. Okay, so here we have the Desert faction. We've got the Desert Nomad mercenaries. So, Desert Nomads, unfortunately for me, I think have missed a mark. There's not enough camels in this army, but I'll let it pass, as you know I'm using a troops and item overhaul, and they add lots of camels into the base units. So I'll let it pass here. Not enough camels for my liking, but it is what it is. We'll move past our sorrows. So starting off, we have the Desert Nomad mercenary. Starting off with a pretty okay spear for a baseline infantry with an iron scimitar and a desert oval shield. Going into what would be some skirmish infantry, which is pretty good. He's got 10 Eastern Javelin, which isn't too bad again, accompanied with a one-handed and a shield. Here we can choose to split off into 2 different cavalry options. We've got the Nomad Skirmisher, which is going to be Skirmish Cav, turned into Expert Skirmisher, which looks like he's got Jereeds. He does. He's got, oh my god, he's got 15 Jereeds. He only has a one-handed sword, so he's going to be very prone to ranged attacks, or any attacks really in general, as he doesn't have a shield. His armor's okay, but that headpiece is really bad. 4 head armor. You shoot him in the head, he's probably going to go down. And that applies for anyone. If you've got a crossbow unit or anything, shoot him in the head, he's probably going to go down. However, the fact that he's got 15 Jereeds, which, if you've watched any of my other mod showcases, you'll know that Jereeds are probably one of the best thrown weapons in the game. He's going to be able to throw a lot down range, and if that hits someone, he's probably going to kill them outright. And he's got 15 of them. Ooh. Okay, where's the Desert Nomad Skirmish Cavalry? Going down into the opposite line here, into the Horse Archers. We've got the Desert Nomad Archer, into the Desert Nomad Expert Archer, into the Desert Nomad Master Archer. Now he actually, I don't know, no, he probably just had better armor. I was going to say, he doesn't look like he's got better armor than the previous rank, but he probably does. He's going to be equipped with a Step Warbow, a long fine scimitar, a steel scimitar, and 2 lots of piercing arrows. So that's going to be a total of 46 arrows, which again isn't too bad. Yeah, it's a pretty good. It's not going to have much protection, but then horse archers don't really have much protection. I was just thinking again, not many shields going on here. His horse is also going to be pretty weak, as is the skirmisher's horse. It's going to be pretty weak. So a good lance to that horse would make the horse archer no longer a horse archer, which is pretty sad. But yeah, so the horse is going to be vulnerable. He's going to be vulnerable, but both of these units are going to be vulnerable. However, they're both going to be able to lay down a lot of fire down range, hopefully before they die or the horse dies and makes them into, you know, ground units. So yeah, good cavalry choices for the Khuzait, Aserai over here. Going down into the infantry line, we've got desert mercenary fighters. Going down into the desert mercenary swordman, which is going to keep his, you know, he's got a spear, but he is accompanied with a one-handed sword, so it's not too bad, as well as some eastern javelins. Here we can go into a mercenary swordsman, or expert mercenary swordsman, which is basically just an upgraded version of the previous tier. He's going to have better armor. He's going to have, I think, is it the same sword? No, he's going to have slightly better weapons as well. However, javelins stay the same. So he's going to be a nice frontline infantry choice for you. Kind of skirmish infantry, kind of not. Like I say, he's only got 5 before he then swaps over to his sword and shield, or his spear and shield. The shield is pretty good, but it's not very large, so just be careful of that. It's a cavalry shield. It's not meant to be that big. However, he's using it as infantry, so something to be mindful there. He's not going to be defending a lot against projectiles. However, someone who definitely will not be protecting much against projectiles will be the Executioner. Really good armor by the looks of it. He's got some southern thrown axes, so not too bad, and he's also got a rigid great saber. So this guy's really not going to defend anything against range. However, he should be pretty good at fighting the enemy infantry, getting off some thrown axes before then swapping to his big naughty sword, which is going to do 115 swing damage, so not too bad. There is another cavalry option, however, going down into the Desert Mercenary Lancer, and then into, finally, the Desert Mercenary Expert Lancer. So this is going to be filling the role of what the other 2 cavalry units have not filled so far, and that is going to be your Shock/Lance Cav. He's going to be equipped with a Mamluk Lance, an Eastern Cavalry Shield, and a long, fine steel scimitar. Again, pretty nice armor, and the difference here is his horse is going to be pretty tanked up, so in comparison to the other cavalry units, his horse is going to last a while. So this is going to be a nice little shock unit for you, a nice little lance unit for you, if you are playing down in the Aserai. Again, nice variety in units, definitely something you can pick up if you are interested in them. Let's move on over to the Khuzait. We'll get that faction done, and then we'll move over to the west, and we'll cover the 2 western factions. Okay, so here we are with the Eastern Mercenaries. So these guys have a little bit of a more reduced skill tree, or troop tree. I think I've said skill tree around about a million times this video. I don't mean to say skill tree, I mean troop tree. They seem to have a little bit of a reduce. They don't have as many options. So straight off the bat, we'll go down the horse archer line here. Straight off the bat, we've got the Eastern Mercenary, which seems most mercenaries do spawn with archers. Or as archers, which isn't too bad, you know, going straight off the bat. Going into the skilled mercenaries, which, ooh, he's got a really nice looking Eastern, is that an Eastern sword? What's he got? What's he got there? Eastern polearm? I don't know what that is, but that looks nice. I've not really seen that before. Again, he's got a recurved bow and some barbed arrows. That sword's going to be really good. This weapon's going to be really good, because obviously he is cavalry, and he's going to be moving pretty fast, so he's going to get a lot of momentum damage with that sword. So that's a weapon thing, so that's pretty good. I've not really seen that. I don't know what that is, because none of these really fit that Description. I'm guessing it's the Eastern Polearm, but that looks pretty naughty. Yeah, I'm guessing it's Eastern. 110 swing damage, which isn't too bad at all. Anyway, keeping going down the line, we've got the Veteran Mercenary, into the Master Mercenary, into the Elite Mercenary. So again, he's going to have some pretty nice armor. Head armor's not too great, however, Southern Cap, so he's going to basically a one-shot to the head. If you were to get a nice crossbow, good upgraded crossbow to the head, you'd probably kill him outright. He's going to have an Eastern Polearm, which is that, yeah, it's definitely that weapon, accompanied with a Eastern Sword, which is going to be a two-handed sword, as well as step warbrow and some piercing arrows. So very similar all the way through, not really changing much in terms of weapons. However, armor does get significantly better, as well as the horse. The horse does get some nice armor as well in comparison to the first one. This horse is going to go down pretty quick. This horse is going to last a lifetime. So there we go. So a nice little horse archer slash pretty decent just melee cav in general. However, if horse archer isn't your forte, we can go into the mercenary soldiers, into the Eastern infantrymen, into the Eastern veteran infantrymen, which is going to be accompanied with a polearm, a one-handed sword, and a nice shield. So these are going to be your really good army as well, bullets. These are going to be the type of guys to stun your cavalry or the enemy cavalry with their spear, and then be able to swap over to their swords and kill anyone on the ground. Really good, again, infantry, as long as they're accompanied with some kind of swinging weapon, they're not too bad. These are going to be really good mount killers, doing a lot of momentum damage to mounts who come their way. So these are going to be good at taking down a lot of mounted units if you're going up against a lot of mounted units. Down the other range, we've got a Eastern Glaivier, which is got a glaive, as his name would advise to. It's got some swing damage, so not too bad, and as well as long saber. Not much in terms of protection. Doesn't have a shield. His armor isn't great. However, going from the Glaivier, we can go into the Eastern Shock Infantry, which is going to again keep glaive, keep this fine steel saber. However, have much better armor. So this is going to be your kind of two-handed polearm units with quite nice swing damage in comparison to the Eastern Veteran units. So basically, these switch roles. So these are going to be using a lot of their one-handeds. However, these guys will be trying to use their two-handed polearm as much as possible, as they have a lot of swing damage on them. There is also a Eastern Shock Cavalryman, which, as the name would suggest, is a shock cavalry unit. Not actually as much as I would have thought, to be fair. He's got a glaive and a fine steel saber. So even though it actually says shock cavalryman, this is probably the least shock cavalry out of all the units I've shown you. Shock cavalry is meant to get in there and get out, right? Especially in terms of like lance cav. Lance cav is heavy shock. Get in, lance, get a kill, get out. These guys don't really have a lance. It's a polearm, but it's not a lance. And so these guys are actually going to do a lot better, especially with the heavily armored horse. These guys are actually going to do a lot better fighting just in general. They're gonna want to hunker down and get some swing damage in there. Again, they've got a one-handed sword, which isn't too bad, so they're going to be able to fight a lot harder, a lot better than lance cav or than shock cav actually is. So kind of a surprising one. The shock cavalryman, quite aptly named for a unit which isn't actually really shock cavalry, but hey. Eastern units, these are the Eastern mercenary units, all a welcome addition. Again, all of these units fit quite nicely with Khuzaits. So if that's something you are playing as, you're playing as Khuzaits, Marauders, or whatever, you're running around with 1,000,001 horse archers, which, let's face it, if you're playing Khuzaits, you probably are. These units can accompany them quite well, especially if you are running around with 100 million horse archers, then the Eastern Elite Cavalry are going to be a nice addition to those ranks, just to make you a bit more of a threat out there as well. Have mercenaries, but this time have mercenaries which actually fight alongside your playstyle. So there we go. Those are the Eastern units. Let's head on over to the Battanian units before then finally looking at the Vlandians. Okay, so here we are with the Highland mercenaries. These are going to be your Battanian troops, so, you know, expect Battanian things. Starting off with the Highland mercenary, again, ranged as all mercenaries seem to be so far. Going into the Highland huntsman, into the Highland archer, into the Highland ranged archer, They're going to be accompanied with a wooden longbow, so not a normal bow. They're going to be shooting slightly slower, however, they're going to be doing a lot more damage. 76 pierce damage, which is pretty good, as well as 2 lots of stacked bodkin arrows, which are going to be 64 arrows in total. So these guys are going to be able to shoot downrange for a long time before swapping over to a Falk's Knife. Now the Falk's Knife, if I'm not mistaken, is a very small knife, so just be cautious there. Yeah, it's a dagger. It's not actually a sword. It's a dagger. So these guys, if they do get into melee combat, are going to get wiped. Then that dagger, they have to be so close to actually use that dagger, so just a heads up. Be careful where you put these boys. Definitely keep these at the back. Like, they've got enough ammunition to last the battle, or at least last the majority of the battle. As soon as they swap over to this, you're in trouble. However, keeping down the left hand side here, we can then go into the Highland Woodsman, and then into the Highland Axeman, which is going to be kind of your, I'm guessing, throwing axe. Yep, throwing axe skirmish, two-handed infantry. So not too bad. It's going to be your skirmish infantry, or at least one version of your skirmish infantry with a two-handed axe. He does also have a Falk's Knife, again a dagger. I don't know why. He doesn't really need it. I doubt he would ever really use it. He really would just use that two-handed axe all the time, as well as 8 thrown axes to throw down range whenever he needs to. So a cool unit, however, a bit of a weird dagger to have just in general. However, that's the left-hand side units covered. Let's go down the right-hand side, starting off with the Highland Skirmisher. So this is going to be very similar to a lot of the other units you've seen previously in the other factions. They're going to have a one-handed with a shield, with a spear, and a throwing unit, a throw weapon. So very similar to what we've seen previously. We've then also got the Highland Falksman into the Highland Veteran Falksman, which is going to have a Fomlier, which is a really good, really good polearm, as well as some thrown axes. Now, even though this is a swing damage polearm, there is one thing I'd like to criticize here with swing damage, which I know is heresy for someone like me. I hate thrust polearms. Swing damage polearms I fucking love. This one, on the other hand, is one of those ones which I fucking adore under the right circumstance. So 141 swing damage. The run failure is probably the best, or one of the best swing damage polearms in the game. However, it's so long, right? And he's not accompanied with another weapon. He's got throwing axes, but he won't keep those throwing axes. He'll just throw all 4 of them and switch to the run failure. So he'll be really good, but he needs to be accompanied by someone with a shorter weapon, like a two-handed weapon or a sword, because if they get past the blade of this weapon and get to the shaft of this weapon, so you can see the blade goes past the fucking, you don't even know where the blade is. The blade's like up here somewhere. If they get past the blade and get to this bit, he's not going to be doing any damage. And it's not like you can swap to a sword or an axe or anything like that, like a one-handed weapon, because he doesn't have that. He has thrown axes, but he doesn't have one-handed. So something to be mindful of. He's going to hit like a fucking bitch, without a doubt. He will fuck shit up. But as soon as they get past his blade, he's going to do nothing. So definitely you want some of these, but whack them close to like Huntsman or even just normal Falksman, or maybe going down the opposite line. If you didn't want to go down to the Falksman, you can go into the Proven Skirmisher, into the Veteran Skirmisher, into the Master Skirmisher. So these guys are going to be quite nicely working together. They have a thrust polearm, which is going to be good at stunning cavalry. Very similar to just a normal Highland Skirmisher. He's going to have some javelins, but quite importantly here, he's going to have a fine steel blade and shield. So these guys are going to be your front shielded infantry after they've used up their javelins. I've only got 5 of them, so not too much. And these guys are going to be their kind of... these are going to be the shield and sword to these Falksmen. So these guys are going to be laying down the damage, and then once they get past their blades, the Master Skirmishers are going to come in and be like, hold up, let me take the brunt of the damage. So these guys can fall back a little bit and use their blade again once more. They do also have one cavalry choice. Battania is not really known for cavalry. So here we have the Highland Mounted Skirmisher. Very similar to Battanian Skirmishers, Mounted Skirmishers anyway. Again, it's just an accompanied unit. Quite nice looking, quite good armor as well. All of these units down here have quite good armor, so they'll last quite some time. He's going to have a hooked spear, which is going to be quite a good lance cav to prepare, quite a good shot cav after he's used up his 10 broad javelins. So he's going to be quite nice. Is very similar to the Imperial. I think it's the Imperial cavalry skirmish cavalry option, where he's not one or the other. He's kind of in the middle, and he'll do a good middle job at both jobs. So he's not expertise. He's not an expert in either or. He's gonna be pretty good at both. So he's gonna do skirmishing business, and then he's going to turn it into lance cav, which is going to be quite nice for Battania units. Like I say, they don't in the base game. They don't really have many skirmish mounted options. So having an extra mounted option, which is lore friendly to your playstyle as Battania, is quite nice. So again, these are Battania units, really nicely accompanied with Battania units. These are just called Highland instead. So it's just a nice addition. Let's head on over to Vlandians as the final mercenary boys. Okay, there are two things I want to quickly mention before showing off Vlandian troops. If you are using the troop and items overhaul mod, which some of you may be, it's a mod I highly recommend. It really just revamps all the units for each faction. Really good mod, really lore friendly. That mod does change the mercenaries a tiny bit, a tiny weeny bit. And so here you can see the mercenary swordsman into a hide blade, into a hide custode or hide guard. Quite Vlandian looking there and Imperial looking there. Nothing too special. These units will and can still be found around the map. However, they'll primarily be replaced with this new Irregulars mercenary units instead. So that's just something I want to say. This isn't part of this mod. These units are part of the overhaul troop to item mods. It's just something I wanted to let you know. These troops, if you are using that mod, do not fret if that's something you're worried about. You losing these guys. I mean, they're not anything special, but you know, it still adds variety into the game as well. There is also another bandit unit, which I can show you quickly what they look like. However, I can't show you. You can see here. Okay, so they kind of. I can't show you the whole entire troop tree, and this is the reason why I've decided to not include it. So I believe these are technically a bandit unit, or at least if not a bandit unit, because I haven't seen any of these around. I think they're bandits, but if not bandits, then these are going to be a very just random. They can go into anything kind of troop tree. You can see here. There's one for each faction, so there's a Desert Vagabond, there's a Nord Vagabond, there's a Western Vagabond, Eastern Vagabond. There's all different types of Vagabonds, and these guys can split off into different things. So, for example, you can go into the Eastern. From Desert, you can go into an Eastern Vagabond, which then the Eastern Vagabond can turn into an Eastern Mercenary, but then you can see here that he can also turn into, I'm guessing, a Highland Vagabond? I don't know. They're there. I thought I'd include them. They are there. They're doing their own thing. And again, you can go down here, which turns into a Desert Vagabond, mercenary units. Then I don't know. I can't actually like I said, I can't actually scroll. I can't actually move the thingy around. The Vagabond units are kind of a strange one to me, but they're there. So I just wanted to let you know. And annoyingly, they're on a camel. You live and you learn. Anyway, let's head on over to the mercenary units for the Vlandians, the Western boys. And here we are with the mercenary units for the Vlandians, the Western mercenaries. Actually, funnily enough, starting off with a unit which doesn't have any range. This is the only one, I believe, which doesn't actually start off with as an archer, which is fine. It's fine. There's an interesting thing on the right hand side, so I guess we'll go down the left hand side first. We'll keep that till the last. So going down into a infantry option, very similar to the infantry you've seen in other factions, into a fortune soldier, into a western fortune swordsman, and here we can go into a western fortune frontliner, which is a very nice looking infantry choice. He's got a thrust polearm, but he also has a knightly arming sword and a heavy heated shield, so there's going to be your quite staunchy frontline infantry, accompanied with a western fortune line breaker. So very similar to other line breakers. I think who has line breakers? Sturgians have line breakers. So this is basically a Vlandian Sturgian unit, dressed as Vlandian anyway, with a knightly arming sword. So exactly the same as the fortune frontliner. He's going to have some Francesca, some throwing axes basically, and a short bill, which is a really nice two-handed axe. It's a really good weapon. It's one of the weapons I like to use majority as well in my playthroughs. It's just a really good two-handed axe. Quite long, a lot of damage, not too bad. So really good. Not much in the form of protection, no shield or anything like that. But again, accompanied with some frontliners, fortune frontliners, they're going to be pretty good together. These boys. Cavalry choice. We've got the Western Fortune Horseman into the Western Fortune Cavalryman into the Western Knight Errant, which he looks fucking fabulous, my ad. Look at him. Look at that helmet. Western ornate full plate helmet, 52 armor. So these guys aren't going to go down fast at all. They're going to be equipped with a one-handed sword, a shield, and a Vlandian lance. So this is going to be your shock cav. They're going to get in there, get some kills. If they do get stuck down in the infantry or wherever, they do have a one-handed sword and a shield to switch to. However, they're going to focus on getting in with the lance and getting out with the lance. Getting kills, quite good kills as well. So really, really good shock cav unit here. Going down onto the opposite line, we've got the Fortune Hunter. So we start off with the heavy crossbow. Some tournament bolts, which I never get why they really add tournament bolts. Tournament bolts are just shit in general, but it's fine. We'll go down into the Fortune Bowman, into the Fortune Archer, which is going to be equipped with a longbow, as Vlandians do. They don't really like normal bows, they do like their long, sturdy boys. They've got 2 lots of bodkin arrows. And a iron arming sword. So not too bad. Armor's okay. Helmet's not too bad. It's only 12 armor, but it's better than some of the other units we've previously shown. It's an okay one. It's an okay archer unit. Going down the other line, however, focusing on what Vlandians love most, and that is crossbowmen. We've got a Fortune crossbowman into the Western Fortune sharpshooter, which is going to have a nice hickory crossbow, which is going to do 89 piece damage. Some tournament bolts, which is as well as a Western fullered Western mace and a Pavis shield. So these guys are going to be able to knock out boys if they get too close. However, something I've loved, and this is the only unit out of all the ones I've shown so far, the Western Fortune flanker. This one, I don't know why I'm so happy about this, but I'm fucking over the moon about this. He's going to have a fine crossbow, 2 lots of tournament bolts, which again is just meh, as well as a flood Western mace. However, he's cavalry. There is now crossbow cavalry. I don't know why I'm so happy about that. It's just there's no other units in the game which is crossbow cav. There's lots of horse archers, but this guy is going to be crossbow cavalry, which is going to be so nice to finally see a unit utilize crossbows on cavalry. I know it's not recommended. I know, and you know, it's not really supported much in history. There's been occasions where people in history have used crossbows on horseback, but majority is going to be bow and arrow. But regardless, fuck history for now. Let's focus. Oh God, I'm going to get cancelled for that. Let's focus on this with just the fact. Bearing in mind there are skills for you to actually use crossbows on horseback. There's even a skill to eventually allow any crossbow you use to be used on horseback. So you can do it, but no one else in the game does it. And I'm so happy to finally see a unit, even though it's mercenary. I'm so happy to finally see a unit which actually does do this. So there we go. Happy about that. I'm happy about all these units. Like I say, these are all units which are just a nice accompanied mercenary unit to whatever playstyle you want to play as. Like I say, lore-wise, you could play as a Vlandians, and you could have some. There's the Western Fortune Mercenary Guild or faction or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And so the Western Fortune Mercenary Guild is these units, and these units you can pay quite handsomely for their services, as you could a stripper. And you can recruit them to fight alongside you, and they make sense to fight alongside you. And this applies to anyone and everyone. You're playing the Aserai, you've got the desert mercenaries down there. Sturgians, you've got the Nord Mercenary Guild. Eastern, Khuzait, you've got the Eastern Mercenary Guild. Do you know what I mean? So it makes sense, and it fits so nice narratively. So there we have it. I think that is the majority of what this mod has to offer. It's not a massive overhaul, however it does overhaul all the mercenaries, which is a really nice welcome change. It's a mod I wish I'd got before starting my my stream playthrough, but however we'll carry on. Well, I'll even, to be fair, I'll try and load up this mod into this streamed version of my playthrough and see if it just loads in. I don't see why it wouldn't. It might not. We'll see. Meh. If it doesn't, then it's a shame, but if it does, then nice one. But anyway, that's a side note. So, thank you everyone for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. As ever, please do not forget to leave me a like if you have enjoyed the video. Please do leave comments down below, giving me feedback or even suggestion of mods. If you would like to join my Discord, there is also a place for that in the description. Do join my Discord. There is actually a place there as well if you would like to link me any mods you've got or would like me to showcase. Showcases have kind of slowed down a little bit. That is just down to me. I'm getting ready for my birthday, and so I do apologise. I've been quite busy with that and getting things ready for my new job. So that's fun. But mod showcases will continue regardless. The next one will probably come out on my birthday. Actually, what day is it today? Yeah, I think the next one will probably come out on my birthday. So keep an eye out for that. And a nice little birthday showcase. But there you go. This is the Irregulars mod. As ever, I have been Ruku. Always will be. Always have been. And this mod is in the description if you'd like to download it. Have a good one, everyone. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!